Welcome back, everyone. We want to thank our viewers for joining us again. Today we have with us Evan Berrett, our Economic Development Director. Thank you for being with us, Evan.
Happy to be here.
So economic development is really crucial for a fast-growing city like Eagle Mountain, for the vitality of its future. It's all, its health and well-being overall. So everything comes back to funding and that economic development, both for the conveniences, but for jobs, for tax revenue, everything. It's the basis for the vitality of a city and for all the big plans and things we want to do in the city. So we're in a transitional phase, you might say, here in Eagle Mountain with economic development. What can you tell us about what we can expect for the future of economic development in Eagle Mountain?
That's a big question, isn't it? I think the future is bright. I mean, I know that there are a lot of people who are going to see that in the current economy, nationwide and even worldwide, there's a bit of pulling back. We've seen a little bit of that in the city with our residential growth and things like that, but with commercial growth, our city has really hit a major milestone and consequently seen a whole lot of development activity in our area and a lot more interest in our city for future growth. And I think that the future is bright because of that for us. As you mentioned, I mean, economic development, it really builds a lot of the character of a city. It really helps a lot of us out in a lot of ways, whether it be from the jobs, the shopping, whatever it is. I know there's a lot of people excited to see a lot of new businesses come into our area, but it's even a great thing for future business owners who want to open up their own businesses here. Eagle Mountain doesn't have a ton of its own locally grown businesses. We do have some great ones. We'd love to see more. But even we are seeing plenty of interest as well for larger businesses as well in our area. So we're looking forward to seeing some of those come. And there's a lot of work going in, behind the scenes to try and make sure that those come in the best way possible, that we're attracting the right kinds of businesses we want to see. We, as in the residents of Eagle Mountain, and that they have a good impact on the community overall.
As Eagle Mountain is coming of age, as it were, in economic development, planning is really important part of that. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of work that goes into it before we actually ever see any results. But for years, Eagle Mountain struggled with economic development because, well, for lots of reasons, right? But that's all changing now. Eagle Mountain is in a very competitive category for businesses, and so we do expect to see some continued interest, continued growth, and continue to attract businesses, as well as having our homegrown businesses. What are some of the things that the city is doing in that regard to assist those businesses? Whether they're bringing businesses in from the outside or developing from within.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things. I mean, to your point, I mean, we are kind of in a new phase, and we're trying to prepare for that new phase of commercial development for all different business types. I mean, there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears poured into the city by some of my predecessors and a lot of other contributors, lots of different contributors in this city for its brief but very very involved history to be able to get us to where we are now. And so there's been a lot of work done foundationally to get us to where we are, and so we're happy to be in this new kind of transitional phase to see a lot of this growth come in, a lot of this interest come in, and so now we're trying to take all of that work and make sure it wasn't done in vain. We're trying to make sure that as this growth comes in, that it is done in the best way possible. And so one of the things that residents may have seen recently is we did a lot of work to try and update a lot of the information on our city website, for example. Trying to make sure that the information that the different developers or site selectors or whoever any of that information they need is quickly on hand, something they can grab, whatever it is, and just try and reduce barriers for entry that way. But we didn't want to just focus on those types of groups coming into the city as well. We wanted to make sure that the small businesses who are interested in trying to open up, whether it's out of your home or whether it's you're looking at actually trying to put up a brick and mortar store or lease a space, whatever it is, wanted to make the steps to doing that clearer, and help you however we can to be successful. Because as you're successful, our community thrives, and we want to try and make sure it's not such a cumbersome or overwhelming process. But we're also doing other things as well. So.
Well, inherently with local government, I suppose any government, there's a lot of red tape that's involved, just because of the lengthiness of and the detail of the processes that go into it. And so anything that we can do to speed up that process and make it a little bit easier, a little bit more user-friendly, that can be helpful to businesses, because literally to businesses, time is money. And so the faster we can get them up and running, the better off everyone is.
Yeah, and there's been, I mean, Eagle Mountain's already developed a reputation in a few ways of removing red tape for different interests in the city, trying to make sure that we can make sure that, that big economic development opportunities that come through can come through successfully to spur on other growth as well. But we're also trying to, listen to what's going on in the business and community. We're working closely with the Eagle Mountain Chamber of Commerce to try and identify pain points for businesses, where businesses are struggling, and just keeping an ear out for anything that we can do, any changes that we can make process-wise, or anything that our code is tripping people up at. Just trying to keep an eye out for anything that we can to improve that process, remove the red tape, and just kind of help businesses thrive here in Eagle Mountain.
And we do have a great Chamber of Commerce, a very active one and effective one. And that's the very reason it was created, to create another entity outside of the city organizational structure that could give a different perspective on those needs, to help be a partner in this process of helping businesses move forward. So stuff online, information online for these businesses. How about on the planning side? Because again, the city needs to work with landowners and needs to plan. Well, if we're going to bring these businesses in, we need to have a place for them to go. And there's a lot that goes into that, because you need roads, you need all the infrastructure, et cetera, that must go in first, really, to make all this happen. So what's happening in the planning phase to get there?
Yeah, this is a part I'm really personally excited about, because, I mean, part of this I didn't think would be happening for another few years, but we're already getting a lot of interest in several places in our city for various types of businesses looking at our area. And so, in general, the city is working on renewing a new economic development master plan, something we're working on with several partners and with you and the city council on. But a little bit more focused is something it's maybe a little more unique, as we are looking at specific areas in the city that we're trying to do what we call district plans or small area plans. So an example is, maybe most people don't know this, but Eagle Mountain does have a future downtown area that we are considering. And so looking at that downtown area, what is the best outcome for that? How do we make sure that the transportation around that area is as effective as possible? How do we make sure that we can spur the right kinds of businesses in that area? Is there anything that we can do to kind of create a better feel and presence and placemaking, and try and drive all sorts of different kinds of economic activity? Because it's more than just going and shopping and doing work. There's also there's tourism, there's sports tourism, there's all sorts of other things that can go on around there. We already have, for example, the Corey Ride Park sees a lot of activity with our festivals and all sorts of things. And so we want to make sure that that area is planned well to make all of that flow and bring in a lot of good people to come experience Eagle Mountain, not just our residents, but others to want to come and visit for a variety of reasons. So it gets exciting to be able to look at that now. I mean, it's kind of an interesting situation to be in because Eagle Mountain kind of developed in reverse a little bit, where we don't have a main street, we don't really have a downtown area. So this is kind of a unique opportunity to be able to work through that. But it's also a really cool opportunity as well to be able to kind of be a lot more deliberate about that and really think forward thinking as much as we can to try and make that as best as possible.
There is sort of a critical mass that we need to achieve in order to make all these things work, whether it's transportation, landscaping, various activities that all are complementary. You mentioned a term that maybe you could take just a moment and fill us in, explain a little bit to us exactly what it means, and that's placemaking. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know that I could give like a really good concise definition of it because there's a lot involved that goes into placemaking, and really it is just if you want to try and bring it down to basics as much as possible, it is what is the purpose of a place and what are all the different possible opportunities for that place for anyone that wants to come visit that. And so it's taking a space and deliberately planning it for all sorts of uses. So, whether it's a cultural use or a social use or, a business or commerce use or whatever it is, there's a lot that can go into placemaking. We like to look at it sometimes on the recreation side of things or public arts or other sorts of public activities and whatnot, but there's a whole science. I mean, there's literally a textbook on placemaking alone, just trying to help make a place achieve its full potential. And that doesn't necessarily mean bringing in a ton of people. It doesn't necessarily mean a crowded space or something that's noisy or that's going to drive a whole lot of just who knows what. It's very deliberate, and as far as trying to plan a place around a specific expectation of what that is intended to be. And we can do that in several places around the city and trying to be deliberate about what these places are meant to deliver to the residents, kind of based on what lives around it and what our expectations and are of the capabilities of that place. So.
Well, we will look forward to all of that shaping up, and we'll look forward as well to hopefully in the not too distant future some exciting announcements as we work with landowners and companies. And so, Evan, thank you for being with us, and thank you to our viewers for joining us again, and we will see you again next time.